So yeah, as it says here, I'm going to be talking to you guys about copy, design, and distribution, and how that all plays a big role in creating quality content that drives growth. So yeah, a little bit about me. My name is Adrie Smith. You may have heard from my accent. I'm American. I'm living here in Amsterdam. I'm also the head of content at Recruitee. Recruitee, some of you guys should know us, hopefully will know us. We are a SaaS company based here in Amsterdam. And yeah, basically we're a talent acquisition platform designed for recruiters and HR departments, helping recruiters track the whole process of the application of their candidates. Relevant to you guys, I'm also a Growth Tribe graduate. I did the 6-week course a while back. And yeah, basically it kind of got me started in this whole growth thing. And from there, I got really interested in content, and particularly B2B content, which I guess is a little different from B2C content. But yeah, so I've been working in this area for a while now. But actually, my favorite part about my job, I wake up every day and I know that I actually sometimes get paid to make gifts. And that's probably my lifelong dream achieved all in one go. So yeah, if you want to connect with me, please do. LinkedIn, Adrie Smith. There are not that many out there. And if you want to check out any of the stuff that I do, responsible for, you can check it out at blog.recruitee.com. So first, if you're sitting here and you're wondering, what is content marketing? Well, we kind of have this thing at Recruitee. I work in the growth department, and we have this saying that growth is everything, and everything is growth. And I kind of want to start another movement in which content is everything. So we often say that growth is everything because if you're a company that's dedicated to growth, then every department has to be on board with growth. Everybody has to have this growth mindset. And actually, I want to argue that every department should know what content is, and every department should be on board with your content strategy. And I'm not sure if the last time you saw a support chat with no content in it, an email campaign with no content in it, an ad with no content. Content is everything. So hopefully I'll convince you all by the end of this presentation that content is everything, and hopefully you guys will say it too. So I was actually asked today to come with a problem. And this kind of started when I got involved in content marketing. And I came across, I basically started writing all of these blog posts, and I started becoming a content machine. I would make social media graphics, but mostly written content. And after a while, you keep going at this grind, and you have to continuously produce. And you come to the conclusion that actually this is one-dimensional. If you want your content machine to be a machine, and for you not to have to continue pushing the lever or pushing the button, then you have to think of it as something much more. You have to consider content as something much more broad. So here is my vision of what I came to. Complete content is copy, design, and distribution. That's what will make a content machine that will help you drive growth. So where do you start in this whole endeavor? First, do a health check on all of your current content. So I shouldn't really have to say this, but there's a lot of shit content out there. And unfortunately, either content marketers don't know what they're producing is shit, or they know that they're producing shit and they continue producing shit. So I'll give you a couple examples of what I personally consider is quality content. Of course, you can come to your own conclusions, but I'll give you a couple tips. So first, we'll start with the copy bit. I'll give you some writing tips here. So when I first started out, I started using content hubs. That was super helpful to help me organize all my thoughts, organize all of these small pieces of content that you want to make into a body. Also, it helps make pieces of content that are interlinked and help you create quality content rather than just kind of content that floats out there. Second, everybody always says this, but I'm going to also say it, know your audience. I can't tell you how many content marketers I know who have never actually spoken to their target audience. It's shocking. And I'm not saying you have to get on the phone with them, though I would suggest that. I would say at the very least, you should at least be a part of the groups and be listening into what your target audience is saying, whether that's on Facebook, Twitter, online, wherever it may be. Start listening to them. Be consistent. Content is a machine, and you have to treat it as such. You have to treat it with consistency. So anyone who's ever run a personal blog will know that, it takes a lot of effort, and you won't see results within the first 2 to 3 months. You're going to see results more in the 4 to 6 month range. So be consistent and start building your content base, and then you'll be able to get the results. Find search terms. Basically, this comes with knowing your audience. So if you're able to know your audience, then you're able to know what they're searching for online. If you want your content to be found online, know what your audience is searching for. Last, add value first. I think this is super, super important because you don't want to start an ebook or read an ebook or even read a blog post that people start selling in the first paragraph. You're either going to go through it knowing that they're going to sell to you and it's not good quality, or, I think that's enough. So here's a piece that I wrote that I think is quality content, only because, so online you have all these listicles, a lot of pieces of content that are quite thin. The writing is either not good, done specifically for SEO. This one I find is a quality piece of content because our target audience is recruiters. And basically, this is a story about a recruiter recruiting in a no manager's environment. It's interesting. It's a story that's not told usually, and thus quality. We get a lot of traffic on this one on a regular basis, and it's one that will continue to drive traffic because it's a good story. Next, I'm also the host of a monthly webinar. We consider this a marketing webinar, though it's meant to build a community. So we talk about issues in recruitment that are interesting, that add value to our audience. We never try to sell Recruitee. That's not part of the whole agenda of this webinar. It's about opening a discussion on a topic that's interesting to our target audience. So if you want to check it out, you can actually register using recruit.ee/boomerang. This month we're going to be talking about boomerang employees. So when you're looking at all of your content, mapping it out is super helpful. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all of these pieces of content. In fact, you probably shouldn't do them all at once. You're probably going to start out with a couple and then add a couple more on. But know what you're producing and know where you're focusing your effort. And then, once you have all those mapped out, most people will know this, and yes, I messed up revenue and referral, those should be reversed, but you should be putting all of your content into this pirate funnel. Look at all of your content. Does it fit in acquisition? Does it activate your customers? Does it retain them? Does it encourage referrals? Obviously, you're gonna have quite a lot of content up at this little bit over here, or depending on your business goals, over here. Having this mapped out will help you really understand where you are in terms of the health of your content. So now you have all of your content totally mapped out and you're quite comfortable with it. I still was really heavily relying just on written content. Of course, I'm not a designer and I probably never will be, but I think having design is super important. In fact, I went to a neuromarketing course today, and we talked about the importance of images and how images are a really important way to connect with people. So if you're only using written content as a way to connect with your target audience, you're only hitting the tip of the iceberg. And by the way, this neuromarketing course is run by Neurified, so definitely hit the guy up in back here. So once you decide that you want to incorporate design, what's the natural response? You go to stock images. This guy is probably the most well-known guy on the internet. I swear. He's super popular and he's very distinctive looking, which is very strange. Have you ever seen a fist bump that looks like this? Nobody has seen this. I'm sorry, these are like my top pet peeves, but there are so many stock images out there. And in fact, I had a conversation today about stock images. Now listen, I'm not saying all stock images are bad, but I'm just saying, look a little bit deeper. Look a little bit deeper than the MacBook on a table with a coffee. It's a shame that you've produced this beautiful content and then you decide that the way that you're going to connect with your audience is through a really shit stock photo. So this is my gift from me to you. Please use all of these stock photo options. Seriously, I hope Pascal will forward this on afterwards. I'm not saying, well, listen, everybody's guilty of using bad stock photos, but there are options. Please at least use the options. That's all I'm asking. Now listen, if you want to level up, and you decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to invest in content and I'm going to invest in design, you're going to find that a lot of pieces of content require design support, if not should incorporate design completely. Map those out along with the pieces of content that you're already looking at and find out which ones incorporate design and which ones need support. So I will offer you two solutions to the designer problem. You don't always have to use stock photos. There's Canva. Canva is I'm sure most of you will have heard of Canva. It's an online tool. Really, really easy to use in terms if you want to create some social graphics. Super easy. But if you want to do more than just social sharing graphics, it's going to become a lot harder to use. I tried to create an ebook on Canva. Please don't do that. Nobody needs to go through that. The next option, it's going to be an unpopular one only because it's expensive and it's a bit harder to use. But trust me, if you are invested in content, and I think this is a skill that anyone who works in content, wants to work in content, should know. I think you should at least have an eye for design. You should at least know the basics of what you're asking a designer when you engage in a designer. But learn Adobe Creative Suite. It's going to be hard to learn, easy to use. But really, if you take your content seriously, just get a designer, please. Just get a designer. It will save you so much hassle, and it's worth it. I promise you, we just onboarded a designer at Recruitee. It was amazing. She's already working so hard. So great. So you have all of this beautiful content, really great copy, really beautiful graphics. You've created this beautiful ebook. Well, guess what? Nobody's going to pick it up unless you have a distribution strategy. Nobody. So this is really crucial step in determining, what you do with your content and where you decide to get it out. So I'll give you a couple tips. You'll probably inherit a lot of channels. I did. You're going to have a LinkedIn, a Twitter, a Facebook, Instagram, all of these things, and probably more. A core account, maybe throw that one in. Not every channel is going to be right for you, and not every channel is worth your effort. Cut the channels that don't perform, and you can always revisit them later. See this one over here. Also, don't be afraid to get personal. Content is personal. And actually, what I've started to realize is that, especially on LinkedIn, personal profiles actually perform a lot better. So make sure that that's also part of your distribution strategy, whether or not that's reaching out individually to people to share a piece of content that's important, depending on their network. It's a good distribution strategy. Build relationships. So I like to think about content as a vehicle for building a community. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. But it's super important to find relevant partners to co-create content with and to be part of your distribution strategy. All the growth hackers in here are going to love this one. Experiment. Always try new distribution strategies. So for example, I've been using Lempod. How many people here know of that? Raise your hands. Oh, wow. Okay, a couple. Okay. Basically, it's a Google Chrome extension, and I'm part of a recruiter one. So since our target audience is recruiters, basically everybody in that pod agrees to automatically just like or comment on one LinkedIn link per day. Really helpful, could be good for you. I'm pretty sure LinkedIn is going to catch on to this very soon, and it's all going to go downhill, but always try to look at new things and new distribution strategies. So for example, if Quora wasn't working for you and you cut it, it's not to say that a couple months from now, things will change and it might be more relevant to you. Always be open to exploring new channels. This one I think is not emphasized enough. I think a lot of people think definitely good writing and good connection with your audience should always be a priority. But SEO is probably one of the most sustainable distribution strategies that you'll have. Really consider your user intent. Really consider the intent of the searcher when you choose your keywords. Really consider at what point in the funnel are they currently sitting, and adapt the piece of content to that current stage. So here's an example of getting personal with people. So a couple months ago, we had someone from Typeform reach out to me, and they said, hey, I saw on your Recruitee blog, you have a link, and would you be able to update it with this link? Of course, yeah, that's a typical backlink hack or dead link hack. So yeah, backlinks, if you don't know, they're super valuable for your content because if you get links to your piece of content, then your domain, well, your page authority goes up and Google ranks it higher because it's seen as more legit. So this guy reached out and I said, hey, yeah, sure, we'll update a link. I also saw on the Typeform blog that you also talk about hiring. Would you mind putting in a little link here? And to be honest, backlinks are super, super expensive. So if you go about buying them with the agency, it becomes very expensive, but it just goes to show, and I really started to adopt this as a strategy, just ask for backlinks. Always offer something in exchange. Of course, in this situation, he came to me, but now I've been going out to people, and literally, you just have to ask. It's crazy. Who would have thought? This one, about building a community. So, not sure if anyone here knows Jitske, super cool tech recruiter here in Amsterdam, and she has a crazy awesome story. So she's basically living the dream. She recruited from a camper van for a year and traveled around Europe. Who doesn't want to recruit from a beach? It's seriously like the craziest story, and she has a really cute baby dachshund that she brought into the office. It was awesome. So I interviewed her, and it's a great story. Again, quality content that recruiters have not heard before and also kind of want to live. And I said, hey, Jitske, here's the article, here's the link. Would you mind sharing it with your super relevant network? And she did. It was easy. And it's just like that. Use content as a way to build relationships with people and be part of a community. So if you have this idea, if you have this complete idea of content, then you're gonna see that it fits in everywhere in your business. So you don't have social ads with no content. Then you have a blog, that's all content right there. Email signups, you need content. A nurture campaign, those can get super complex as we're learning, but they all need content. And then hopefully one day you'll end up with a sign up. So last thing I want to leave you guys with, map out. So you've mapped out what kind of content you want to focus on, where it needs design support. Also map out where it's going to be found. Look at social, email, personal profiles, partners. Basically map out your distribution strategy and look at all the potential that you can achieve with distribution. So yeah, I got to the end of my journey and I was like, okay, great. It needs to be really, really good content, copy that converts, copy that tells a story, connects with your audience, and by the way, you need design to go with that. And then, if that wasn't enough, you need a massive distribution strategy. You need to connect with people. You need to make sure your content is seen. That can seem like a lot, a lot. And this gives me a lot of hope because it means that you just have to continue hustling. And it's worth the investment because if you're dedicated to growing as a company, content can be a massive way of getting you to achieve that growth and helping you along the way. So just to wrap up, copy, it needs to be consistent, valuable, relevant. Tell stories that are not told. Be consistent with people. Design, you need it. That's it, you need it. And it needs to be complementary, it needs to be tailored to the piece of content. It needs to be able to facilitate this thing over there, distribution. People are more likely to share stuff with pictures than they are just pure text. I'm sure you guys all know that. But distribution, also have a community focus. Build a community through your content. Be experimental. And by the way, be selective. Not every channel is gonna work for you. So last one, shameless plug here. We are actually hiring. So all you PR marketing specialists who speak Dutch, please come talk to me, please, please. Localization manager, head of customer success, business developer. Obviously, we are a company that's super dedicated to growth and also content. So we're going to be hiring later this year. So please be in touch and definitely connect on LinkedIn. Thanks.